Hey y'all, a few weeks back, one of my subscribers named Alex reached out to me and asked if we could play a game of chess. I am not gonna say no to a game of chess, so I said yes. In total, we played 10 games, some daily games and some rapid 10-minute games. A little more about Alex. Alex is a fellow chess improver whose goal is to get a 1000 rapid rating on chess.com. He is currently around the 850 level, so there's 150 points to be gained. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over 8 of our 10 games, and at the end, give Alex some tips and some guidance on how to get those 150 points to make it to the 1000 level. But first, new subscriber challenge number 2. For every new subscriber I get on this video within 24 hours, I will walk 1 minute, not 1 mile, on the treadmill. And I hate walking. So let's get into game 1. But first, I have to say Alex's chess.com username has to be the greatest I've ever seen. I'm a checkmate you. Along similar lines, I hope that one day I'll just be playing a random chess.com game and my opponent will be named I'm a stalemate you. Who knows, maybe in 2024 I'll make a new chess.com account with that username and I'm just gonna stalemate people. This first game is categorized by a blunder. So we'll get to the blunder shortly, but let's just get into the game. Pretty standard stuff. Development. I choose to take Alex's knight. I want those doubled up pawns. I love doubling up my opponent's pawns because in the end game it usually becomes a weakness. But as you see here, it's pretty standard stuff, some trading. Now I myself have doubled up pawns. Okay. And right here, Alex plays queen to g3. Is that a hanging knight? Yes, it is. I can just gladly take, right? But I don't see that in the game. I follow up a blunder with a blunder, and I go rook to f3 attacking Alex's queen, which, if you can pause the video and spot the mate in 2, take your time to do so. And Alex finds it, check, and mate. So Alex did hang a knight, but immediately after that, since I didn't take the knight, spotted the mate in 2 and was true to his word, and he checkmated me. Let's get into game 2. So there is some solid development, and then Alex immediately gets confrontational. I'm going to take that pawn. Alex recaptures with his pawn, should have taken with his knight, but did it in the game. So I give a quick check, and I'm hoping to win this pawn. Alex doesn't see that this pawn is undefended other than the knight, so I have 2 attackers, there's only 1 defender. Instead, Alex castles, and I take that pawn for free. So here I am going to trade my bishop for the knight again so that I can get some doubled up pawns. And look at this pawn structure after this trade. Double isolated pawns, an isolated pawn over here, so you've got 3 pawn islands. Probably not going to be the best structure for the endgame. I decided to trade off the bishop and undouble the pawns. I still think that my pawn structure is better, and I naively still think that the less pieces on the board, the easier the position. Couldn't be further from the truth. I defend my b7 pawn by castling, and here we go. I mean, there's just a bunch of questionable moves from both of us, myself included. And here we go. We get to this position, and the evaluation changed substantially. If you want to pause the video, what's the best move for black? it's a free bishop with a check thrown in. So second game, I do spot the hanging piece. I take that bishop for free. And again, myself, I'm doing a bunch of questionable moves. I win another pawn, that isolated pawn from the beginning. And we get to this position right here. I did not know what to do. I didn't know how to save my knight. So I just didn't even deal with it at all. And as you can see, it's not a substantial position anymore. It's just minus 1.2. And I myself just gave up my knight. But I'm hoping to promote. I'm really hoping to promote. And there, I mean, look at that. Like, the evaluation bar is actually slightly in Alex's favor now. There are 2 moves for me as black to make that keep me in a winning position. Pushing the pawn. Keep pushing that pawn, or making sure that the king doesn't come up and try to get this pawn and my rook. So slowly but surely we just trade off, and I make some queens, and I give a checkmate in the middle of the board. So I think for this game, the biggest thing from my point of view was the pawn structure. I mean, I just took a bunch of those pawns, and clearly the free bishop didn't help Alex's advantage. Let's get into game 3. Pretty standard stuff again, and confrontational on the e5 square again. I take my pawn, and for the second game in a row, Alex recaptures with his pawn. I give a check, so no castling for your king. Attack the bishop, double up Alex's pawn structure for the third game in a row. Just trade some pieces off, again trying to simplify the position. And here we are. By this time, you know what the glasses mean. That's a free piece. I spot it, I take with my pawn. And during the match, Alex typed in the comment box that he thought that my bishop was going to be trapped. However, what can black do to save the bishop? Give a check and move the bishop away. So, immediately after this, what should black play to win that rook? Bishop to b4, check, and winning the rook. You can't take the bishop because I'll just recapture with my rook. So I'm going to take that pawn and just keep winning some more pawns until there's almost none left. And here, Alex resigned. Game 4. We get some very similar position. I'm just doing the King's Indian attack this game instead of the defense. And confrontational on e4. Now, just a bunch of trading occurs. And here, for the 4th game in a row, doubled up pawn structure. I believe this was similar to the second game where there's a doubled up pawns on the F file and an isolated pawn on the H file. I'm just a pawn up at this moment in time. Some more trading. So we've just got a bishop versus knight endgame. Oh, and the rooks, I guess. I'm just threatening to win some material. And here, I'm now 2 pawns up. And I'm trying to win some more pawns. This check, maybe I can win a pawn after doing so, if Alex moves to the wrong square, which is exactly what happens. Alex should have gone to c5. That is the best move to defend these pawns over here, but instead goes to e7, so I take that pawn. And this was another pointless king move, because you have a pawn hanging, and I'm going to gladly take that as well. And I'm just trying to win pawns. That's all I'm trying to do. And Alex, that is a free rook for the taking. So I gladly take and take another pawn. And here, Alex resigns. Game number 5. This game, it's pretty simple. Alex dismantled me. We find ourselves in this position, and my pieces are not in the best places. I mean, I have a slight advantage, but, you know, this knight is on the rim. This bishop's not doing much. It's getting blocked. And I blunder. I blunder because in the 2 games prior to this, I had essentially the same setup with the King's Indian defense, and I sacrificed the bishop for 2 pawns. And in both of those games, I ended up winning and actually mating the opposing king in the top left corner. As you can see, I play a great move, and actually this position is in my favor. I didn't really want to just keep giving pointless checks though, so I started moving up the board, hoping that would do something. And look at this. I mean, it's now 14 for Alex. Defends the only threat that was even on the board, and I am just gonna absolutely lose right now. It's only plus 4 points of material right now, but there's going to be a king made right now, and then another one pretty soon. And I get mated. So I actually want to give a round of applause for Alex on figuring out how to defend the threats. On the first and second rank, game number 6, we are almost done. Hang in there. This game haunts me. I had a commanding lead from the beginning, and I threw it all away. And you're going to see that happen right now. Similar setup. Now, why is the valuation bar going up so high for white? If you want to take a second, pause the video and figure it out. Which should white play? Queen to a4 check. And you might say, well, I can just defend that knight to c6. You're not wrong, except that there's a bishop on g2 staring right at that defending knight. Give it check, double up Alex's pawns again. It seems like a common theme, and I win a free bishop. So I have a commanding lead right now. I don't know why I voluntarily do a queen trade early on in the game and undouble up the pawns that I worked so hard to double up. More trades, get more pieces off the board. And here, sure, it's really a pointless check. I just didn't want to lose the knight. I wanted some time to move my knight to a better spot. I guess I could have done that before, so not the best move. And now I'm the Bobo with the doubled up pawns. And now, look at all these pawns coming to the board. Coming down the center, where I don't even have any, and I've got a doubled up file right there. I just did not know how to do this game. 1 knight move, 2 knight moves, 3, 4 pointless knight moves. In that time, I could have been bettering my position, utilizing the rooks, and maybe even getting my king more active off of the back rank. But slowly but surely, my position unravels, and it's clear that there's no coming back. I mean, I can't stop any of these pawns. I give up the rook for nothing, and I'm just gonna resign right here. I resign. And for your information, I resigned before I made my never resign video, so don't be canceling me in the comments. But this game is categorized by my misplay, but also Alex pushing the pawns, realizing that that's really the main asset of the position. At the end, I think that's great. But it never feels good to resign. Game number 7. I decided to go with a different opening. And we find ourselves in this position. I really want a queen trade to happen. Even if that doubles up my own pawns and my king is in the corner with no defense, I really want a queen trade. Doesn't happen again. Alex moves his queen to h3, so I decide to, why not, maybe do a discovered attack with my bishop on c8. That's exactly what happens. Alex does not see the threat. I take, and Alex immediately resigns. We finally made it to game number 8. My personal favorite. Alex would not say it's his personal favorite. Let's get to the interesting part of the position. We do a lot of trades in the beginning, and we get here. And Alex has a better position according to the engine, minus 1.1. That makes sense. I mean, I have this double isolated pawns, 3 pawn islands. My pawn structure is just garbage. I get that. Now, what can I play as white? What would you play as white? I mean, like, this, any bishop move is pointless. My rook is trapped. Like, I'm not just going to do a random pawn push, so I win a pawn. And here, I'm not quite sure what Alex was thinking at the time. His king was not threatened at all. But I decide to win another pawn. Attacks my knight, and white to play. What should white play at this moment in time? And you know the drill, y'all. Knight to e6 check, winning the bishop. And this whole position is just unraveling. This, again, as a move, was pointless. It's not threatening my king or any of my pieces, so I win another piece. And this move, threatening my knight, is another thing where it's like pointless in some sense because I'm going to win a pawn and now also defend that knight. Give it check, win another pawn, and this position is completely unraveled. Finally, some of the rooks are off the board. Here, what I choose to do is pin the knight, which is what happens. And I'm hoping to get the king back on d8 sometime, or at least on the d file. And that's exactly what happens. Now, that knight that was pinned a few moves back, I can win for free. And slowly but surely, I make another queen, and ladder mate, and it is game over. Just like that. So now I'm going to be giving my tips on what Alex can do to get to the 1000 level. We finally got through all 8 games. Now I'm going to give my tips to Alex so that he can improve his chess playing abilities. I looked at Alex's game archive and noticed two things. Number one, he plays a bunch of different openings, so many different openings. I really recommend, as a practical tip, that you stick to a handful of openings that you like the positions they get you into, and really master those rather than trying out a bunch of different openings and getting into just a bunch of positions. Another thing is that if your opponent plays a quick move, it seems like you then play a quick move, and if your opponent takes time, you take time. I think just slow down your thought process, and that'll help you out a great deal. As for what I noticed in the 8 games that we went over today, sure, I can say, oh, don't hang pieces and don't double up your pawn structure, but that's really not helpful. The reason that both of those happened was because of piece placement. For example, I believe your king got forked, I think maybe 3 times, and I just picked up a free piece because of it. So I think what's best for you to do is ask yourself before you make any move, if I move here, what can my opponent do to me after that? What are their threats? So maybe thinking a few moves ahead of the move that you actually want to do. And the second thing I noticed in our games is I think it would be best for you to really double check. If you have a plan, really double check that it can actually happen. For instance, when you gave up the knight, I know that you thought that my bishop would be trapped. But maybe looking a few moves ahead of that and noticing that I can actually give a check and the bishop can escape. So just think a few more moves ahead. I mean, you're great with, if there's something to be done right in front of you, like in the first game, you noticed the mate in 2 and you got me. And you noticed the mate in 2 in the game you destroyed me as well. That's about all the tips I have for your gameplay. But yeah, I just want to give a round of applause to Alex. And thank you so much. Bye.